How are you today?
Good.
Good.
It was a good day. I had devotions this morning. And this time it was a lot less stressful in terms of worrying about what people are thinking.
What do you think made the difference?
Well, it was different nurses today.
Okay.
And I think what also helped was just acknowledging that they were there for me. We were doing the devotion at one point. They were helping 2 residents eat breakfast, and so they were whispering, at the end of the table, and I said, oh, you guys don't need to whisper. It's okay. Like, I can have devotions, and you guys can talk, and you don't need to whisper. Like, I know you guys are doing important things, but thank you, you know. And for me, that just, like, helped, and I was like, okay, they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
We're over here doing ours, and one of them said, yeah, oh, I really like the part where you guys sing. I like listening to you sing. I said, thanks. So it was neat. For me, it was like, by them not whispering and letting them, you know, own their space, I was able to own the space that I was in and say, like, we can be here together, and it was good. It was, what I did for the devotion was I had, because last time I had a hard time figuring out what would work in long-term care.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to do the same thing again. There's a book we had to purchase for worship class, and it was, it's this huge book full of the lectionary for, I think that was year A and C, and it has the lectionary reading, one of the lectionary readings for the week, and then it'll have artwork and poems and different, like, excerpts from people's book. It's called Imagining the Word. And so I just selected 3 different ones, and we read the scripture and looked at the artwork, and some of the residents I was able to ask, like, why do you think they chose this artwork to go with this, you know, this scripture reading, and we talked a little bit about that, and were able to sing, so I enjoyed that. It was good. And then I got to go over and sit with Linda. Do you know Linda in assisted living memory care?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. She and I sat there and looked through the book for a long time, which was really neat.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was a good morning. I saw Miss Lamond too. So, but yeah, it was a lot better this time. I was happy with that, and I was happy with the devotion, and I think I'll probably just do the same thing again. Not next month because I won't be here that week, but in January. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good morning for you.
Yeah, it was a good morning. It was good. Trying to think, what else? I should have reviewed that piece of paper, is what I'm thinking in my mind, because I thought that this morning. I was like, oh, I need to look over this paper before I go on my one-on-one. And I didn't, because my daughter was being a 2-year-old, so I had to help Danielle get her dressed. What else happened? Well, yesterday at work was trying. Just had like an interaction with Angela and Jim all together that tested me a little bit and just was hard.
So it's just the 3 of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We were talking about, Jim wants to do a fellowship event with, he at first wanted to do gingerbread houses and have people come in and make gingerbread houses, but I had, before Angela came in, talked him down to just cookie decorating, because I was like, well, if we want a whole family to be there, like a 3-year-old can't really help make a gingerbread house, but they can decorate their own cookie on their own plate, and mom and dad are, you know, okay with that. And so we had talked it down to cookie decorating, but of course we haven't like announced that we're doing this or anything. He wants to do it the 3rd Sunday of Advent. So it's very Leesburg of him to be throwing this on the calendar so last minute, but it's something that I think would be good, and we can make it happen, especially as I continue to, like, because he's just a person that comes with like a huge idea, and you just have to really like chip away and just work. Yeah, to make it. Like, if you wanted that huge idea, we should have been planning that back in October, but now we're 3 weeks out, so let's chip away, and I like where you're going, but, and so we were sharing it with Angela, and she was like, that is just stupid. Like, why are you guys doing that? Nobody's going to come to it. She was so negative. And I was like, you know, Jim was trying to stick up for the idea. He's like, I think people will come, and she was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think anybody's going to come, and It's just hard because I feel like her comments are so unnecessary sometimes. And I was wondering later, because then I had lunch with my friend Liz, who is a minister in town too, and I was just like, I wonder what would happen if I just would say, I don't know if that comment's really necessary. I don't see how this is, and I guess that would be confrontational in a wrong way. But also at the same time, I just wonder why does she say stuff like that? Like, maybe she thinks she's actually helping by being so, like, I just find the comments abrasive. Because on the one hand, like, if I'm on a ministry team, I want someone to say if they think something is silly, right? Like, I want you to be able to tell me, I don't think that idea is going to work. But I don't want you to say it's dumb or that, and it often feels like every single time Jim or myself bring up, like, anything, it's not well thought out or dumb or something like that. Whereas I don't feel like anything she brings up is, no one talks to her that way.
Mm-hmm.
No one on staff talks to her that way, at least. I don't know what her experience is in the congregation, if she gets negative feedback from the congregation. She doesn't have dumb ideas. Her ministry ideas are really smart. And I make a point to say stuff like that. I say, oh, that's a really great idea. I love that idea. So I wonder what way I can maybe just gain clarity for myself why she needs to speak in that way, or, even if she doesn't. I told my friend Liz, I was like, it's almost like I would just need someone to say, like, oh, so, Angela, maybe, and this is going to come off wrong, but it might help if someone was like, oh, Angela is just, like, somewhere on the spectrum, like, doesn't understand what it means to, like, it's like she doesn't understand interacting with people. And so if I know that about her, and I say, oh, that's just her quirk, like, maybe I can let it go. But, and I do know that about her. Like, I do know that she is not particularly good at interacting well with people. But to me, it seems like she chooses that, as opposed to, like, oh, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people they just don't know that they are being abrasive, and that's just who they are. But for me, sometimes I feel like, I'm like, well, kind of I wonder if she chooses to be that way.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. The way you describe it kind of reminds me of some emergency room nurses that I've worked with in the past that just have this really kind of crusty exterior that built up to be sort of protective. And I don't know that that's true with Angela.
I wonder if that could be the case for her. And then, if that is the case for her, how do I make space for that to be the case for her, and yet still not get my feelings hurt, right?
Right.
So how do you say, like, this is who she is, I can't change who she is, but how do I change my behavior in reaction to who she is so that I don't get hurt by this? And so I think, maybe asking that question of, but the other thing is I am afraid that no matter how I word the question, it'll be received as negative. No matter how I say it. And I'm not even sure how you would say that nicely. Like, why are you so negative about everything that we say?
Well, here's the thing. Here's again the why word.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if there's a way that you could ask a question without using the word why.
So, okay, if I'm going back to the situation where we were this week, yesterday, and I say, yeah, I hear you saying that won't work. What about it do you think won't work? And, just waiting and hearing, and maybe some of the negativity comes from feeling like she's not heard. Maybe she just wants to be heard, and so us acknowledging, and instead of just saying, oh no, it'll be fine, like, you're worrying for nothing. Because there have been times where, an event will happen, and afterwards she'll be like, see, I told you guys. You didn't listen to me. So maybe she just doesn't feel heard. I don't know.
Well, I think that that's an interesting insight. And it reminds me, and I don't remember who said it, but particularly in a one-on-one relationship, both parties have the right to be heard, and both parties have the right to ask for clarification. And so, I think the question you just modeled would do that. I hear you say, and then you responded back with, I wonder what, or wonder what you would do to improve it. Or,
Yeah. I think I'll try to ask more questions of her, because I think I just take her behavior and say, okay, I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah. So, asking her questions are, how do you think that would be a way that you can both engage her on an appropriate professional, collegial level, but at the same time not feeling that you have to have an emotional investment in whatever her response is?
I'm not sure, because I know that in the past, before this whole job switch incident, I mean, our relationship was headed down a rocky road anyways, but then that just kind of totally made me want to, distance myself from her. And my fear is, in the past when we have been in relationship, and I do ask those, I had asked those questions. Well, what would you do, Angela? How would you go about doing this and stuff? That it easily became a way for her to, in my eyes, manipulate and change it. And partially, if I look back, that was me allowing that to happen, because I would take those ideas and say, oh, Angela knows better than I do, I'll just do that and stuff like that. So maybe for me it would be an awareness of, I could ask her these questions and I can listen to her opinions, but then I have to take what she says back and think really carefully about what I'm going to use and what I won't use, and hopefully she'll be understanding of that, and I think she would. I don't think that sometimes when, I just know I'm a person that can be easily manipulated, and through my life I can look back and say, it's not always the manipulator that's all at fault, right? Sometimes, at least in my case, I don't know about other people, but at least in my case, I've given them permission to do that, whether I was aware of it at the time or not. So,
how would you say you do that? Well, what kind of
I think that
signals or whatever?
For me, it's a lot about, when I look at those situations, it's me questioning myself and thinking that someone would know more about something than I would, even though there's nothing really there to say that they would.
So it's a process of feeling,
I think it's just
lower about yourself?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it's just putting myself down. Not that those people have ever put me down to my face and said, oh, you're a horrible person, you're dumb, you don't know anything. Never in the case of relationships where I look back where I have been manipulated has that been the case. It's just, I just really latch on to someone and, subscribe to their ideas and that kind of stuff, and forget about who I am and, what I desire. And so I think that's true of when I look back at my beginning of Leesburg. Angela was really the one that was there, and she kind of took me under her wing, which was great and helpful, because I wanted somebody to walk alongside, and she shared her biases with me about people, and which you're allowed to do. But I, in turn, took on those biases, right? And she didn't tell me, Heather, in order for me to talk to you, you have to not like these people. But I did. And then she told me the people she liked, and so I ended up liking those people and turning to those people for help. Instead of being, I guess, differentiated, like my own person, I just was like, oh, Angela's here to lead me, and I'll just do what, Angela says, and it kind of feels like you're a little bit dopey. Like, you're like, come on. What's wrong with you? I feel very much like a little duckling sometimes, and it takes me getting hurt to realize, like, oh, crap. I've kind of put myself in this situation again, so I definitely own that part of myself now that I'm older. I wish that I could always see it a little bit more clearly as it's happening than in hindsight, but yeah. I just think that I'm a personality that I'm just a go along kind of person, and lose myself in that, I think, a little bit.
Do you think people see you as being helpless?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think people see me as being accommodating,
Okay.
which I think is different.
I think every behavior has, obviously, its consequences, both positive and negative. But sometimes, we and I say it subconsciously, and maybe the only Freudian term I agree with is subconscious, is that we do things without really a whole lot of thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere along the line, the reason that I think we do some of those things is because it has served us in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true for you, but the one that I have to keep monitoring is my emotional distancing.
Mm-hmm.
And it serves me well in a short term,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have to take on somebody else's
Yeah.
feelings and anxieties and all of those kinds of things. In the long term, it doesn't serve a purpose
Too well.
too well. I won't say it doesn't serve a purpose. It serves a purpose, but the consequence is that it affects ministry. It affects what I try to do and who I want to be.
It's funny because I think I definitely know that it's a learned behavior from my family, my mom and my dad, and I actually do think accommodating, and I guess I would, maybe manipulating isn't the right word, but probably would be the term people would use, but I would choose to say accommodating. I'm just really accommodating to the point where, like, I'll lose myself in it. And it serves a purpose in my nuclear family, and I and as much as it's like you want to, try to better yourself, and I'm like, I don't know, I think I'll just stick with accommodating because it works so well. But in my life outside of them, it hasn't. There really have been consequences because the person I'm accommodating isn't my mother. Like, I accommodate, my mom is the one that you have to accommodate in the family. And my mom will love me no matter what. But these people, they don't have to love me. They don't have to have my best interests at heart. And so that's where I found, like, outside of that family, like, oh, this is not good. Like, it works okay in our family. It's not like it's always good to accommodate my mom, but it does keep the peace. But not every other system I work in is my family. And so, I don't know, it's just really interesting to think about. But yeah, definitely learned from that family of origin. So.
Do you think you're accommodating about everything, or is there something that
No, I think it's when I encounter a dominant personality that I'm accommodating. Angela is a dominant female personality.
I got that picture.
So definitely was accommodating to her. I was in a really unhealthy relationship in college before I met my husband, and was incredibly accommodating to that man. And I don't know why for him. I think I just loved him, and, well, not I think, I loved him, and I just was happy being with him, and didn't really do a good job of thinking about what I wanted. I just assumed, like, oh yeah, I love him, and so that's what I want, and didn't really, I was really young too. But, yeah, that's another relationship where I feel, would say, like, oh, I was manipulated, or I overly accommodated that person, and then ended up, I was the one in the end that got burned, not him. Trying to think of other relationships.
So, do you recognize that you are overly accommodating or being manipulated while it's happening, or is this something that you observe in hindsight?
I think I observe it in hindsight, or in the moment. You know, like, especially with Daniel, that he's a good partner, and that I can say, like, I really feel like when we talk about whatever issue, I was like, that I'm bending over backwards to make things happen, and I don't feel that you are doing the same. You know, what do you think? And, you know, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I'm doing just as much as you are. But then for me, I can say, like, oh, okay, well, you may think that, but I don't think that. So I need to think about myself and, like, what do I need? What do I need to stand up for? What do I need to expect? What should I expect? You know, stuff like that. So he's a good relationship where I feel like I can say, like, yeah, I feel like I'm bending over backwards and you're just not doing anything.
So that's a place where you can practice observation, awareness, and responding.
And with my sisters, too. And I think that comes from just the idea that, like, well, at least in Daniel's case, like, you have committed to love me no matter what, so for better or for worse, you said it. And then with my sisters, they're my sisters, so there's less of a, I mean, certainly there are still consequences, but there's less of a fear of consequences in those relationships than with other people.
Than with, like, Angela.
Angela and stuff, yeah.
Okay. If you had an internal meter or internal alarm that says, oh, I'm being too accommodating, or I'm being manipulated in the moment, what would you think you would do?
With it, like Angela or something?
Yeah.
I hope I would say something, that I would ask the questions, or that I would be able to at least step out of the moment and say, well, what am I giving up? You know, what am I giving up to accommodate her? And is it something I should be giving up? Is it, you know, what's my ground that I'm going to stick to? My dad always talked about, you know, you gotta pick your battles and stuff, so, and he always said it in a way as, like, don't battle. But, you know, and it was this thing his dad told him, so there you go. But I think there, you know, is a time to battle, and, you know, or, you know, there are hills to die on, like, that's why that's a phrase, you know, there are times when you need to pick up and fight and say, like, you know what, I disagree with you, and, it doesn't have to be as epic as, like, the words fight and battle, but, you know, I think I would hope that if I noticed I was being too accommodating, that I would stop and say, is this something that's okay to accommodate, or am I, like, being overly accommodating for fear of conflict? Is this coming out of, like, no, yeah, it's fine that you do this, or am I just passively saying this, and then I'm gonna go back and, like, wallow in myself because I know that I've, you know, I willingly let somebody step over the boundaries. Like, you know, I would hope that I would say, like, oh, no, I don't want to do this. I disagree, but, yeah, man, families of origin.
Yeah, so, yeah, you brought up the boundary word. Yeah, so I guess that, as you said, and as you illustrated there, that the danger of being too accommodating is that you give up your space.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in some ways, maybe even give up a lot of yourself.
Yeah.
For the sake of
not hurting
getting
someone
along
else's
or-
feeling.
yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, what does that say about, how you love yourself? So, yeah.
Yeah, so, you mentioned the hill to die on. Have you discovered, that hill that you're planting your flag and
I don't
somebody's
know.
going to have to come knock you off of it?
I would love to think that it was me, right? But I don't know. I don't know what it would be in the church, or in my interactions with Angela.
Well, in this ongoing discussion,
Mm-hmm.
with, about Angela and your work, and I guess one of the things that struck me, I keep coming back. I said, I wonder what Heather wants. What does Heather want in
That's
this?
a good question.
Sometimes it sounds like, I want trust
Mm-hmm.
from others. I want some autonomy or freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to be. I want freedom to do my ministry and to not be criticized for doing it the way that I see fit. I want to be able to trust that when I come to my coworkers that they will have my back and will help me in a kind way if they discern that a way that I'm headed isn't the best way. And I think that's really it. Like, I just don't really feel like I can trust her. I don't feel like it's weird because on the one hand I feel like she does have the best interests of the church at heart, but then on the other hand she hasn't really proven that since I've been there. I mean, she was a little sneaky with the job change, and I don't know, I want to believe, but I just have a hard time believing. So I want to be able to trust her, and I want to be friendly. I don't want to be your best friend. I don't want to, have holidays together, but, I just want to feel like I can say, want to go grab a taco, and you'll want to go grab a taco with me, or, that it doesn't have to feel so tense all the time. Everybody feels so fake. And even I feel fake when I'm with them. I don't like that. It's just such a yucky feeling. I just want to be who I am.
So how, I've never met your staff, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea whether they're being fake or not, but the fact that you sometimes feel like you are, could be a projection back onto them of what you're experiencing.
Or guarded. One time, even in the office, Linda and Angela and I were all talking, and she said something along those lines, well, I don't want to do any of that stuff with you guys because you're not my real friends. And it was just well, that was kind of mean to say, but then at the same time, it was the truth. She's not wrong. I don't want to...
Angela said that?
No, Linda, our office manager,
okay.
But Angela was there, and it was weird because we all, paused after she said it, wow, why did she say that? That is so rude. But then also none of us said, no, that's not true. It was kind of like this moment of, that was really rude to say, but she is not wrong. We are not friends, and I think we like to put on that maybe we are, but it's weird. Definitely feel I don't know, it's just odd. So I feel like everybody kind of feels that way. Maybe not Jim, because Jim lives in his own little world. But I don't know, how do you break that other than just by, in my mind, continuing to be, I try to be vulnerable and honest and share what's going on in my life, and ask questions about what's going on in theirs. someone gave me the advice that to help build relationships with coworkers or with people that we find difficult, the best thing to do is spend 3 minutes asking about their family every time you see them. And so I really try to stick to that and ask Angela about her family and what's going on. And it actually has helped a lot in this past month, but it still doesn't feel like we're buds or even, I don't know, it feels strained. It feels guarded. And maybe that's just Angela.
Are you wanting to ask more direct questions?
I wish that there was a way that she and I could just get away together and we could just lay it all out there and say I just wish I could be what's going on? We were fine, then we weren't. I know what's going on my end, but sorry. I think I've tried really hard to just let it go. And obviously it's not working really well, but I just would love to know, and I think for me, what that would help clarify is where do we go from here? If we just say, here are the transgressions, we've named them, because we've never named them in front of each other, right? I've never told her, hey, I heard you said that you wanted me out of my job. I never told her that. And, I don't feel the need to tell her that, but I almost feel like we just need to acknowledge that there's an elephant in the room and say, things are tense between us, don't you think? And then move forward from there. Maybe not name why the elephant's there, but... And I just don't know how to go about that, I don't want to force that on someone if that's, not what they need. I don't know. Well, what about what you need?
Well, I think that there's, in cases like this, some value to directness. And, directness does, people are afraid of directness, at least in my experience, because it can come across as confrontational or mean, and I don't think it needs to. But, I hope, my hope is that people will be direct with me and, ask me, well, what do you want? What do you want in this relationship? Because I don't know.
Yeah. I bet Angela would like directness, because she's a pretty direct person. I mean, in her opinions, at least, so.
Well, it sounds like she speaks directly.
Yeah, so maybe.
But it also sounds like she doesn't speak real